So thank you guys for joining us today for this webinar about how you can integrate live chat into your Taurus chatbots. If you guys have been paying attention to the stuff that we've been sending you guys over email, if you follow us on LinkedIn, you'll know that recently we launched a live chat integration in our Taurus chatbots using Zendesk. And we figured we'd host a webinar to explain to you guys exactly why we built this feature, what the value of it is for you as a business owner, as someone who's working in customer support, someone who's working in marketing, why you might want to use this feature, and of course to show you exactly how you can use this feature. So at the end of this webinar, as you'll see over the course of the next hour, we'll show you how you can actually use the integration to add live chat to your chatbots. Now, to begin with, as always, we like to start our webinars off with intros. And as you guys might know, if you've watched these webinars before, I'm Arnav. I'm a marketer over here at TARS. I help businesses like you guys out there get the most out of chatbots by making content like this webinar, like our podcast, like the guides that we create, just so that you guys know a little bit more about the technology that you guys are using, and so that you guys can get the most out of it, so you guys can get the best results out of it. Later in this webinar, when we're in the Q&A section of this webinar, Ish, the CEO and co-founder of the company, is going to be joining me to help me answer your guys' questions. So we'll have him on a little later. Maybe he can also speak to the efficacy of the integration between live chat and chatbots when he jumps on as well. As a company as a whole, we have been around since 2016, helping customer experience teams, so whether that's in digital marketing, whether that's in customer service, customer support. We have been helping customer experience teams boost their customer engagement using conversational tech. So in the context of digital marketing, usually what that looks like is replacing your lead capture forms, replacing your web pages with conversational landing pages and chatbots to increase the conversion rate. And in the context of customer service, customer support, usually what that looks like is converting your legacy systems. So whether that's call centers, whether that's self-serve web pages, with chatbots to help improve your CSAT, your CSAT scores. Now, in this webinar, we're actually going to be touching on both of those use cases. What we're talking about in this webinar is going to address both the digital marketing and the customer service, customer support side, which is interesting for our webinars. Usually we touch on only one in our webinar, but to get into the specifics of what we are going to be talking about in the next hour, just so that you guys know what's in store for you, here's a quick overview of how this session is going to go. To begin with, we're going to discuss the basics, some basic concepts that you guys need to know so that we're on the same page about how the live chat and chatbot integration works in the TARS Builder. Then we're going to talk a little bit about what the value of such an integration is. So why are we having this webinar today? Why does it make sense for you guys we're telling you guys to integrate live chat into your chatbots. Why does that make sense? Why should you consider doing that? Why should you go to the effort of doing that? And we'll look at it from a couple of different perspectives. We'll look at it from the perspective of a business that is already using live chat and considering adding chatbot functionality to that live chat system. And we're also going to look at it from the perspective of businesses already using chatbots, which I suspect is most of you in the audience right now. If you're a TARS user and you're already using chatbots in your business, we're going to tell you why it makes sense for you to maybe add a live chat integration in there as well to address some user queries. Then in section 3, we're going to show you how you can actually integrate live chat into your TARS chatbots using our Zendesk integration. The graphic on the right side of the screen is a little bit of a sneak peek into the fact that we're going to be using Zendesk for this. And then finally, in section 4, Ish is going to join me, and we are going to take your guys' questions if you guys have any. No pressure, of course. And over the course of this webinar, if you guys think of any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A section of the webinar. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions at the end of the webinar, likely. If it makes sense to answer during the course of the webinar, I'll do so. But feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section so that you don't forget them. I'll be sure to get to them at the end of the session. Now with that, let's jump into the webinar. And before we get into the real meat of this webinar, I think there are a couple of things that we need to get out of the way. We need to get some basic concepts out of the way so that we know exactly what it is that we are talking about today. And to start off with, I think we need a little bit of context. Now, as you guys will probably know from working in digital marketing, from working in customer service, there has been a general trend over the last decade towards chat-based customer service systems. So your legacy systems like your phone call, your maybe your call center is now being directed towards live chat and chatbots. Your self-serve resources on your webpage for prospects and for your existing customers, depending on whether you're using for digital marketing or customer service, is now often being handled through a live chat or a chatbot system. And the reason that this move has been happening, the reason that this trend has been happening in the world of customer service is that people love chat. Businesses are finding that their customers, their prospective customers, love using chat for several reasons. Chat's mobile optimized. It's much easier to use chat on a phone than it is to scroll through a web page. You could also think about this compared to a traditional call-based system. You don't really want to stay on the phone going through these call trees before you reach an actual human being, when you can instantly get service from a chatbot. Chat is also very familiar to people. As you can see from the graph on the left side of the screen, which I got from Business Insider, give them credit. More people use chat today than use social networking apps. And so almost over half, I think half of the world's population. So everyone knows how to use chat. People know how to use chat. They're used to using it. They use it to talk to their friends and family. So it isn't too big of a jump to ask them to engage in the same sorts of interactions when they are talking to businesses. Finally, people find the chat is more engaging than traditional ways of interacting with customers. So given a choice between scrolling through a verbose landing page, self-serve landing page to find information about a company, and then filling out a form, or just having a chat with a chatbot or with a human agent, most people pick the latter option. Most people pick the chat because they find it a little more engaging. It's more of an active process. Instead of scrolling through a page and reading through things on your own, you're actually engaged in a back and forth interaction with someone on the other end. But we've talked about all of this a lot, and there's no sense in dwelling on it. The basic upshot of all of these advantages, other than being nice to haves, is that they increase your CSAT and they increase your CVR. So if you're in the customer support game, if you're in the customer service game, your customer satisfaction is going to go up. If you're in the digital marketing game, your conversion rate is going to go up. People are going to be more appreciative of the user experience. They're going to be more likely to actually see entire interactions all the way through. They'll get their customer support tickets resolved. They'll actually stick on your page and share their contact information with you if you're using it to capture leads, and you'll end up capturing more leads, so your conversion rate will go up through a chat-based system. Now, within this trend of chat-based systems, there are basically two approaches that you can take to achieve a chat-based customer service system, and the two approaches are, as you guys know, live chat and chatbots. And the thing that differentiates these two approaches, the thing that separates these two approaches from each other, is essentially you need to ask yourself the question: who is the user chatting with? When a customer lands on your page, when a prospect lands on your page, and they send a message to the chat that's on the page, where is that message going? In the case of a chatbot, the answer is a piece of software. There's a piece of software on the other end that's deciding how to interpret the user's message and then how to respond. And in the case of live chat, there's an actual person on the other end doing the exact same thing. They're looking at the user's message, they're figuring out what the best response is, and then they're responding to them. Now, what we are proposing in this webinar, this is where we'll end this section of the webinar. What we are proposing in this webinar is creating a mixed approach. So rather than having just a person on the other end or just a chatbot on the other end, we want to integrate the two together so there can be seamless handoff between the two. And what this basically means is if a user lands on your page, they could at first talk to a chatbot. And then if it reaches a point in the conversation where the chatbot feels like a human being might be a better person to handle the conversation, it can hand that conversation off to a human being. The human agent can address the user's query and then maybe hand the conversation back off to the chatbot for the rest of the conversation. So essentially, we're talking about a system where it's not either or, but rather both. You don't either have a chatbot or have live chat like a lot of businesses think about it, but rather you have both chatbots and live chat. And the natural next question that most people have when we tell them about this mixed approach is, why should you do it? So why are we hosting this webinar today? Why are we telling you to adopt this mixed approach in your customer service, in your marketing campaigns? And to answer this question, I think a good place to start is looking at the pros and cons of each approach. So in the context of live chat, if you think about what live chat is good at, why people like using live chat, now, the big advantage of live chat, the big advantage of any human-based system where there's a human agent on the other end, is that human beings are great at answering all sorts of queries. Whether it's an L0 query, whether they're asking something about pricing, or whether it's an L2 and above query, if they're asking you something like, what's the meaning of life? A human being has a good sense of, we're very adaptable. We can answer the questions that you have. And if we don't know the information ourselves, if we can't find it in our standard operating procedure, we can direct you to someone else on the team who can help you with that. And customers know this. This is why, this is obviously not in the context of chat, but this is why when people call, when people call call centers and they're greeted with the call trees at the beginning, everyone just automatically clicks 0 because they want to be connected to a human being immediately. It's way easier to explain what's going on with your situation. It's way easier to explain what your question is to an actual human being on the other end. And we have trust as prospects, as customers, that a human being is going to be able to address what we want and get us the information that we need. Now, the issue with this human-based live chat approach is that while it's great to have human beings, while human beings are great at answering questions, they are also imperfect customer service agents. First of all, human beings are really bad at multitasking. So at a time, a customer service agent can usually interact with maybe one, maybe two, I think in some cases, maybe 3 people at the same time over a chat-based system. But the unfortunate truth is you often have more than 3 people waiting in line to talk to a customer support agent per human agent. Per customer support agent. And usually what ends up happening if you're a mid or a large-sized company is the ratio of customer service tickets to the number of agents that you have is extremely high. And usually what ends up happening with that is you have long wait times. You have people waiting in queue to get their questions answered. And while the question will eventually get answered well by the human being, just the fact that they have to wait in the queue for however long they're waiting in that queue is going to cause frustration, and it's going to affect your customer satisfaction. It's going to affect your conversion rate. Similarly, another issue is a lack of 24/7 availability. Human beings, obviously, we can't work 24/7. So after work hours, generally, your customer support agents are going to go home. And unfortunately, for a lot of businesses, the peak time when people actually come onto the website and when people are thinking about buying things is after work hours. So what do you do to address those people who are landing on your page, who have questions after work hours, who want to generate leads, who want to book consultations with you guys after work hours, who want to ask questions about your services, about your products after work hours? With live chat, it's very hard to address that need. You either need to hire people after work hours, which, as the third point over here indicates, is expensive, or you just need to tell them to come back the next day, which of course is going to lead to frustration, which leads to lower CSAT and lower conversion rate. And of course, a sort of overarching problem with live chat that is implicit in the previous 2 points is that it's expensive. Maintaining a live chat system, maintaining a customer support team to handle chats coming in through your live chat system is expensive. You have to handle payroll, you have to handle HR. If you want to extend availability, if you want to reduce wait times, you need to hire more people, which just compounds the issues, which just compounds the cost. You're going to have to spend more time managing them. You're going to have to pay more money to your customer support agents as a whole, as a team. And for most businesses, this is unfeasible. Whether you're a small business, whether you're a large business, it's unfeasible. It's just not a scalable solution. Now with chatbots, the picture is a little bit different. Chatbots don't really have a wait time because a single chatbot can talk to 1 million people at the same time. everyone who lands on your page will get instant response from a chatbot because it's a piece of software and it's very good at multitasking. Similarly, chatbots don't have to sleep because they're not people. So they are available 24/7 by 365. Regardless of what day it is, what time it is, a chatbot is going to be available. And as if that weren't enough, chatbots are also cheap. The average cost of a chatbot software, I mean, take TARS, for example, our higher plan is $500 a month. That's considerably less than what it costs to have an entire customer support team available to field queries. But it's not all perfect, obviously. Every technology has its pros and its cons. The issue with chatbots is that they're just not smart enough to handle more complex queries yet. So if your customer asks an L0 or an L1 query, your chatbot is going to be able to handle that very easily. But if they ask anything L2 and above, your chatbot's going to struggle. And for those people with those L2 and above queries, that's going to be extremely frustrating. It's very easy to alienate users by not being able to answer their queries. People find it very frustrating when you can't give them the information they want. And you want to avoid that at all costs. And chatbots are just not going to help you do that when it comes to L2 and above queries, at least as of yet. NLP technology is just not at the place where chatbots can understand everything that a person throws their way. Now, what you'll notice about these two lists, is that there's almost a one-to-one mapping between the pros and the cons of each. So the pros of live chat address the cons of chatbots, and the pros of chatbots address the cons of live chat. So what our theory is, to answer the question of why you want to integrate live chat and chatbots together, what we are thinking is that if we integrate these two approaches together, we can get the pros of both sides and none of the cons really of both sides. So you can get a system that's great at answering all queries, L0, L1, L2, anything above, a system that's cheap, a system that has no wait time, and a system that has 24/7 availability. And obviously there are no cons over here because we've addressed the cons of both systems. And rather than just telling you that that's the case, I'm going to actually walk you through why this is the case. I'm going to walk you through why all of the cons get canceled out and why we're left with only the pros of both of the systems. The basic principle that we are working with when we use these mixed chatbot plus live chat approaches is that we have the chatbots handle all of the L0 and L1 queries, which they're so good at handling. And in our experience, if you're in customer service, you know this, anywhere from 40 to 70, in some cases even 80% of queries usually fall into this bucket. So chatbots handle all of these simple queries that account for the vast majority of customer support tickets. And then you have your human agents handle L2 queries and above. So that's the 20% of queries that require some real expertise to handle. And what this looks like in practice, let's take a look at a couple of examples. And actually, we fashioned these examples out of real people who came to our website and had interactions with our chat-based system. So let's take a look at the example of user A first. User A lands on our page. They browse around the page a little bit, and then they have a question about our pricing before they are ready to convert. So they open up our chat system, and the first thing that we do is we greet them with the chatbot. Now the user asks their question to the chatbot. This is an L0 query for us. Pricing is extremely easy. So the chatbot answers their query, and the user is satisfied. And then they say, "Can I book a demo?" Again, this is a very simple query to respond to. The process of booking a demo is very structured. You don't really need a human being to do it. It's very formulaic. So the chatbot handles it itself. It asks the user for the details, and then it moves the user to the completion bucket. In this case, since it's a marketing use case, we can think about this as conversion. That person enters our funnel. They get sent to our CRM where our sales team can follow up with them and possibly convert them into a user. Now, this is an ideal system for any marketer, any customer service person, because it's not hit our live agent. It's not hit our human agent yet. The bots handle everything, and the person is converted into our funnel. They got what they needed. Now, let's take a look at the example of another user. So let's say that user B lands on our page. Unlike user A, they have a complex query. So over here, I put in a stand-in that they're asking for the meaning of life, but to give you an example of what someone might ask if they land on the TARS page, Just the other week, we had someone land on our page and they had a question about our partner program. So they wanted to resell our chatbots. Now, the bot on our page is optimized for answering questions for actual users. So people who land on our page who want to use our builder to build a chatbot for their business, our bot can usually answer whatever they need. It can help them book a demo. It can give them case studies. It can tell them about pricing, things like that. But it's not really great it doesn't really have any information coded into it to answer questions about our partner program. So the chatbot obviously doesn't know how to respond to this question. It's way above its pay grade. So rather than failing to answer the question, and rather than just saying, sorry, I don't have the answer, what the chatbot does is it hands the user off to a live agent. And in this case, in the specific case that I was talking about with the partner agreement, Ish, our co-founder who's joining us later in the call, was in our Zendesk account. He got this user handed off to him from the chatbot. The user asked him the question. He was able to answer it. The user was satisfied, and then he could move the person to the completion bucket as well. So these are basically two approaches to getting people to conversion using a bot and an agent, and that's how the system works. Now we can interpret the results of the system. We can interpret what the value of this system is of using the chatbot first and then using the live agent after in two ways. We can view it from the perspective of a business that's already using live chat, and we can view it from the perspective of a business that's already using chatbots, which again, I suspect is most of you on this webinar today. Most of you guys, I presume, are TARS users. So you'll be more interested in the second part of this. Now, from the perspective of someone using live chat already, in your current system, let's talk about the first point over here, reduced wait times. In your current system, your live agent is handling everything, regardless of how complex the query is. If they get stuck on a complex query that takes a couple of minutes to respond, there are a whole bunch of people waiting in queue that are getting frustrated because they have to wait for a response to their query, regardless of how simple it might be. Now, with our system, what we are proposing is that you can send those complex queries. You can still send those complex queries to the human agent where they can be answered, but the remaining people who are waiting in line who might have simple queries can have their questions answered by the chatbot. So this way, what happens is instead of having four people who are frustrated and one person who's actually getting customer service, you have everyone getting customer service. The four people with simple queries are having their queries resolved instantly by a chatbot, and the one person who has that niche complex query that needs human expertise is handed off to an agent. That's reducing workload on your agents. It's reducing the wait time in the queue for people who actually need to talk to an agent, which is obviously a good outcome for any customer service operation. The second advantage of this approach is that it adds availability outside of work hours. So what was happening before was after work hours, your agents weren't available. You'd give people a stock message saying, come back tomorrow, come back during work hours. And you just have everyone landing on your page after work hours getting frustrated. They can't get the information they want. They can't get their query resolved. If you're using this for lead gen, a lot of those people are dropping. They're not converting into leads. They might even forget about the entire process the next day. If you're using it for customer service, you're getting dissatisfied customers. Your CSAT is being affected. You ideally want to resolve queries as quickly as possible. But with the new system, at the very least, what you can do is the 80% of people who have those L0 and L1 queries, they don't need to wait for the next day to talk to an actual agent. You can have the chatbot address their issues. And the reason I said it was partial availability is because those 20% of people who land on your page who still have those complex queries, they're obviously not going to get their queries responded to. They're still going to be frustrated at the end of the process, but at the very least, you can respond to 80% of queries, which is considerably better than responding to no queries at all, in my opinion, at the very least. And then, of course, real quick, as we discussed in the previous slides, by reducing the workload on your customer support agents, you don't need to have as big a customer support team. You can reduce the cost. You can reduce how much it costs you to provide good customer service to your customers. You don't need to break the bank to extend your availability outside of work hours. You don't need to break the bank to reduce wait times because your chatbot is handling a lot of the legwork for you. And actually, we have a couple of examples of where this was used. The Montana DMV, for example, just had a call center-based system. Their call center was completely overloaded. It's obviously not live chat, but they implemented a chatbot system that would field people before they went to a call center, and they were able to, I think, reduce their call volume by somewhere on the magnitude of 15 to 20%. And in one case, actually, in one of their bureaus, they were able to reduce the wait time from 2 hours to 20 seconds, which is a staggering decrease, especially in the context of a DMV, which is notorious for bad customer service. Now, let's look at it from the other perspective. If you're using a chatbot, which I suspect is most of you on this webinar right now, the big advantage of using live chat, the big advantage of integrating live chat into your chatbot system is a reduced failure rate. Now, we've all been in a situation where we've spoken to a chatbot and the chatbot has had no idea what we're talking about, or it doesn't have options coded into it that address the questions that we have, and that can be extremely frustrating. In my experience working in the chatbot game, I feel like people hold chatbots to a much higher standard. Customers hold chatbots to a very high standard. And what that basically means is when someone lands in a chatbot, if the chatbot can't answer their query, they are going to be extra frustrated. They're probably going to be alienated from using your chatbot. They'll probably be alienated from your company. They'll either be dissatisfied or they'll drop from your page in the context of digital marketing. And that's an outcome that we all want to avoid. Having a live chat system to fall back on reduces the scope for this. It allows your agents to handle the complex queries that the chatbot would have otherwise been unable to answer, and the chatbot can continue handling all of those L0 and L1 queries that that it was answering before as well. So this is what it looked like before. Your chatbot would send all of the simple queries, the L0, L1 queries to completion, but anything L2 and above would just result in frustration. And what happens with the new system is the chatbot can handle all of the simple queries, send them to completion. And in the case of complex queries, the users are sent to a human agent. So they don't end in frustration, they actually end in resolution as well. So no one gets alienated from your company, no one gets alienated from your chat system. You actually deliver good customer service to everyone, not just the 80% of people with simple queries. And the upshot of both of these, the upshot of both of these interpretations, whether you're using live chat, whether you're using chatbots already, is that you are going to have a higher customer satisfaction and you're going to have a higher conversion rate. So in the case of live chat, all of those people who drop from your page because the wait time is too long, all of those people who drop from your page and never come back because they can't get customer service outside of work hours, you have fewer of those people now because the chatbot is actually addressing some of their questions, and they might actually convert into a lead, or they might get their customer ticket resolved instantly. Similarly, in the case of the chatbot, all of those people who had complex queries that weren't getting answered by the chatbot, who were leaving frustrated from your page, they're actually getting their queries resolved. They're actually converting into leads. So you're having, again, a higher CSAT and higher conversion rate. So with that, now I think you guys have a good sense of why we are proposing you go with this mixed approach of chatbots and live chat together. And I think this sets us up to actually take a look at how you can implement this in your how you can actually implement this in your existing chatbots on the TARS builder, or if you are using a live chat system and you are thinking of using chatbots, you can see how you can integrate a chatbot into your live chat system. Now, a couple of points to note before we actually jump into the builder, where I show you how the integration actually works. You'll need a couple of things for this to actually complete this integration. You need, first, obviously, you need a TARS chatbot. This is a TARS webinar, so we're assuming that you're using a TARS chatbot. We're talking about how you can integrate live chat into your TARS chatbots. And you need a Zendesk enterprise account. So our live chat system is powered by Zendesk. We figured, why reinvent the wheel? Zendesk already has a great live chat product out there. Why not just integrate their awesome functionality with our awesome functionality? So we created a system that can integrate your TARS chatbot with your Zendesk live chat. And for the specific functionality that we're talking about, you need a Zendesk enterprise account, which, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe someone from my team can help me out. I think it's about $59 a month or something like that. Maybe someone can correct me in the chat, but I believe it's around $59 a month if you're not already using Zendesk. And the basic structure of the integration that we're doing is, if you remember the diagram that I showed you before, where you have a human agent and a chatbot, the basic structure that we're going with over here, it's the exact same structure, except the tar in the place of the chatbot, we're using specifically a TARS chatbot, and in the place of live chat, we're specifically using Zendesk live chat. So with that, we can actually jump out of these slides. And we can jump into the actual TARS builder, where we are going to start. We're going to actually make this integration happen. So over here, what I have set up is a basic lead gen and customer service chatbot for a financial management practice called TARS Finance. The way this chatbot works is users land on the chatbot. It says, "Welcome to TARS Finance. I'm a virtual assistant. How can I help you today?" And then it gives them several options. It allows them to book a consultation with the TARS Finance advisor. It allows them to check pricing. It allows them to check case studies, and it allows them to talk to an agent. Now, these first three queries over here are what we'd consider to be simple queries. Booking a consultation doesn't really require it doesn't really require a human being to do. It's a very structured, formulaic process. It would be overkill to ask an actual. In our opinion, it would be overkill to ask an actual person to handle this entire process. So we're going to let the chatbot handle that. Similarly, pricing and case studies, basic questions. I'd say L0, L1, L1 queries. No sense in getting a human being. If a user has any question other than these three things, which in our experience on our page account for a lot of the queries, a lot of the processes that we have to handle, they can talk to an agent. So they have the option over here of talking to an agent. If, for example, we didn't have the live chat integration, this talk to an agent option wouldn't exist, and anyone who had a question other than these three would have their question go unanswered, would have their query go unanswered. But in this case, we're going to give them the talk to an agent option. And just to give you guys a tour of the rest of the flow that we have going on over here, if they select the book a free consultation option, we take their name, we take their email. Oh, accidentally copied that gambit over there. We take their email, and we take their query, and then we close out the conversation. And similarly, if they ask for pricing or case studies, we tell them about the pricing, we show them a case study. And then, of course, in each of these gambits, we give them the option of either booking a consultation, checking the other options. So over here, this is the pricing back and forth. This is the pricing conversation. We give them the option of checking the case studies from here, and obviously getting connected to an agent. And actually, before we jump into the Zendesk part of this, let me show you what this chatbot actually looks like for people who are relatively new to the TARS chatbot builder. I hit publish up here, publish, open the chatbot in a new tab. This is what it looks like on desktop. If it was on mobile, you'd just see the chat interface in the middle. Over here, I'm going to click book a consultation with the TARS Finance Advisor. It's going to say, awesome. I need a few details to get you set up. First, what's your name? Arnav. Give it my work email. And I'll give it a random string. Thanks for the details. We'll get back to you with more info shortly. This is a very basic lead gen flow. There's a lot that could be optimized in it. You should check out our other webinars to understand how you can optimize it. But over here, this is an example of a basic query being handled by a chatbot. The person wants to book a demo, and the chatbot helps them achieve that outcome. If we go back to this, these slides over here, this is sort of the user A use case, where the user has a very basic question and the chatbot handles it for them, and then they get moved to the completion bucket, or the conversion bucket in this case, without having to interact with the human agent. But now say someone has a more complex query. Say they want to ask about maybe being a partner, or maybe they want to ask a very niche question about their specific financial situation in this context. Maybe they live in one country, but they have residency in another country, and they want to figure out whether this financial management agency actually handles that. And that isn't answered by the three options that we've given users over here. So we're giving them this talk to an agent option, and that's where Zendesk is going to come into the picture. Now, to integrate Zendesk, what I'm going to do is first, let me move my video out of the way. And let me close this menu on the left so that we have a little more space to work with. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new gambit. So click on the green Add a Gambit button. over here in the top left, that is going to create this little object over here, just like the ones we have on the rest of the canvas. This is a gambit for people who are new to the TARS builder. It's a single back and forth between user and bot. The bot sends some messages, the user sends some messages. What we're going to first do is we're going to connect all of these open red sockets to the top of this gambit. So basically, whenever someone says that they want to talk to an agent, we are going to send them in this direction in the conversational flow. So the chatbot is going to say a couple of words to the user, and then the user gets to respond. But rather than having the bot handle the conversation over here, what we are going to do is first, let's rename this. Let's call it Zendesk. From this dropdown at the top of the screen, we are going to select Zendesk chat. And this is going to open up a configuration section where we can basically connect our chatbot to our Zendesk chat account and hand the conversation off to an agent in Zendesk. I'm going to make this chat bubble over here saying connecting you to an agent. So that's what the bot is going to say before handing the user off. And over here, as you can see, there are several details that we can hand off to the Zendesk chat config. The only one that is absolutely necessary is an account key. This is basically a way to identify what your Zendesk account is. And to get this key, you need to actually jump into your Zendesk account. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over from the TARS builder to my Zendesk account. So over here, I am in my Zendesk account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the chat section of my Zendesk account. I'm going to open chat. Close the other tab that I have open. It's going to take a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to load. I've noticed that Zendesk, when I'm sharing screens on Zoom in particular, Zendesk tends to be really slow. As you can see, I've had some chats before. I was testing out the integration before I jumped on this webinar to make sure that we'd have no issues. Fingers crossed that we still don't have any issues. Didn't really have any issues in the practice, but you know how it goes. When people are watching, it always tends to mess up. Now we need to find the account key. We need to find the account key so that our chatbot knows what our Zendesk account is and is able to connect to it. And the way we do that is we go to the top right of the Zendesk chat screen. You can see a profile icon over there. You click on that, and then you click on the check connection option. Now, when you click on check connection, you'll see a whole bunch of different details shown to you over here. But the one that we are concerned with is the account key one up here. So what we want to do is we want to copy this account key. So let's copy it. Jump back into our TARS builder, paste the account key, and hit save. Now over here, what I'm going to do is after the Zendesk chat is over, I want to get people to go into the lead gen flow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these people over to the regular lead gen flow. So now what's going to happen is they talk to an agent, the agent addresses their query, and then the agent can hand them off to the lead gen flow where they actually book an appointment with someone. Now what we can do is we can actually try this out. So we can hit publish again, open the chatbot again. And now let's say someone lands on the page. This is a user B type situation. So someone who has a complex query, maybe they know what the meaning of life is. They don't see an option to get their query answered over here. So what they do is they click on talk to an agent. Now it says live chat session started, powered by Zendesk. Type end live chat to end session, connecting you to an agent. Your queue position is 1. So over here, the chatbot has handed the conversation off to Zendesk. I'm going to jump back into my Zendesk account over here. And as you can see in the top, it says in queue 1. Now, if I click on in queue 1, what it's going to do is it's going to show me the conversation that has been started. So over here, let me go ahead and say hi. I got a notification from Zendesk over here saying that someone said hi. As you can see, as a Zendesk agent on the other end, I'm having a conversation with this user. This user said hi. I can say, hi, this is Arnav. How can I help you today? Once it sends that, if I jump back into the conversation, you can see that my message from the Zendesk chat has appeared in this in the chat with on the customer's side of the interface as well. Now we can say, I want to know the meaning of life. Again, we get the notification over here. We can jump back here. I want to know the meaning of life, and we can respond to the user. We can help them resolve their query and complete the conversation. Now, a key point to note about this, a key point to note about this, we can actually make this, we can actually improve this integration a little bit. We can actually make the chat a little bit more powerful. And the way we can do that is if we jump back into the builder, into the TARS builder, you notice that there are these additional details that we can hand off to the Zendesk agent. We can collect the user's name, we can collect the user's email, phone number, and maybe a start message so that the agent in Zendesk knows what the user is asking about. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to maybe complicate our conversation a little bit more, ask the user for these details, and then hand it off to the Zendesk user, just so that you guys know how to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit save. I'm going to disconnect the Zendesk Gambit from everything. And actually, what I might do is I might connect the Zendesk Gambit all the way to the end. I don't want them to go through the lead. The lead gen can be handled through the live agent. But what we're going to do is, instead of connecting all of these empty sockets to the Zendesk Gambit over here that we've set up, what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of additional Gambits to collect the details that we need. So jump back in here. We need to collect visitor's name, email, phone number, and a start message. So we need, essentially we need four Gambits. I'm going to move this out of the way. 3 and 4. One for each of the details. I'm going to line them up in a column over here, and I'm going to connect them to each other. I just like getting the structure ready before I jump in and make all of the changes that I want. And then we can connect these empty sockets to the top of this chain that we have set up. Jump into the first one, and let's collect their name first. We can say something like, okay, so the user at this point has said, talk to an agent. So how the bot is going to respond is the bot is going to say, sure, I need a few details to connect you. First, what's your name? You can put name verification on in the text input, so full name verification. Once they share their name, now we want to ask them for the next detail. I believe it was email, so you can call this email. Say thanks. And what's your email ID? Put email verification on over here. Hit save. Go to the next Gambit. We can say something like phone number over here. Great. What's your phone number? So they just shared their email. What is your phone number? Turn mobile verification on over here, just that we know that we're getting a phone number. And then finally, we want their start message. So let's call this start_message. Finally, what would you like to discuss? What would you like to discuss with our agent? And this can be the start message. We want to give them the option of sending any text they want, so we're going to leave it as custom text over here. Hit save. And now we have this chain set up. Now what we need to do is we need to take the details the user shares in each of these Gambits. Once they've shared that information, we want to send that information over to Zendesk. And it's not going to happen automatically. What we want to do over here is we want to reference the data that the user shared with us. So over here, what we are going to do is we're going to use the data referencing feature in TARS. You can see the by default, it says ursp.name over here. That's sort of an indication of how you use this feature. So the way it works is to reference data in any other part of the conversation. The first thing that you do is you type in double curly braces. So we're going to open the double curly braces. We're going to close the double curly braces. And then in the middle of these curly braces, we're going to tell the chatbot what information we want to pull from another part of the conversation. Now, in this case, we want to pull the user response from this part of the conversation. Where the user shared their name, we want to pull the user response. So the first thing that we're going to type over here is URSP. So this indicates to the chatbot that we are pulling the user response from somewhere else in the conversation. Now, where in the conversation are we pulling that user response from? To indicate that, what we do is we type in a dot. So after the user URSP, we type in dot. And then we say the name of the gambit where we are pulling it from. So in this case, I believe the name of the gambit was actually called name. So we're going to type in name over here. Let's just double check. Over here, it's name, all lowercase. That's the name of the gambit. We're pulling the user response from this part of the conversation. So we can jump back in here. That's the name of the gambit. We are pulling the user response, URSP, from the name part of the gambit over here. And we've added it into these double curly braces. So now this should reference whatever name the user shares. Similarly, for email and phone number, we want to do something similar. We're pulling the user response from the email gambit. We're pulling the user response from the phone number gambit. So over here, we're going to say ursp.email, close the curly braces. And then over here, ursp.phone number. I think I had an underscore between the two. And then finally, for the start message, we're going to pull it from the start message gambit that we set up. So ursp dot start message. Hit save. Now we can publish this chatbot, open it up again, and see what the conversation looks like. And rather than, so this is a fun fact, we've set up the chatbot such that it remembers the conversation you were having before in Zendesk. And since I want to start a new, so when you refresh the page, when you come back to the page after some time as a user, whatever messages you sent gets remembered, and Zendesk is going to think that it's the exact same conversation that you're having with the exact same person. Over here, I want to start a new conversation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this chatbot link, I'm going to open it up in an incognito tab, just so that it starts as a new conversation. Hopefully this will work. I think it should work. As to start a new conversation. It's going to say, how can I help you today? We're going to say, talk to an agent. Sure, I need a few details to connect you with one. First, what's your name? Say, my name is Arnav Patel. Thanks. What's your email ID? Give one of my work IDs. It's your phone number. We can give it a phone number. And then finally, what would you like to discuss with our agent? I want to know what the meaning of life is. Now it's going to hand us off to the agent. It's going to say we're in queue position 1. If we jump back into our Zendesk account over here, we can see again in queue, it says that we have it says that we have another conversation open with someone. If we open up that conversation over here, we can see that now instead of having an anonymous user like we did in the previous chat, over here it said Tars visitor SL2WIWCH. Instead, over here we know that the user is Arnav Patel, or actually in this case I'm both the user and the agent. Let me go through that conversation again, but with a different name, just so that it's a little less confusing for you guys, so you guys can understand, because over here it's just Arnav Patel, Arnav Patel, Arnav Patel. Let's open up a new incognito tab, start the conversation again. Talk to an agent. Elon Musk. Or actually, let's go with a random name. John Smith, the most generic name in the world. Thanks. What's your email ID? John number. Just give it something random. Jump back in here. In queue, we have a conversation. We open that up, and as you can see now, instead of having just a generic TARS visitor SL2WIWCH, we know that the person's name is John Smith because we collected it through their through the chat. We know what their start message is before we join the chat, so we know what they are asking about, and that helps the agent serve the person better because they know a little bit more about about the person. And over here, if we go to the user's profile, we can see that we can also see the user's email ID and their phone number. So if we're using this for something like digital marketing, where we're using this to generate leads, we can actually follow up with them at a later date to get them to maybe convert into a lead, or we can basically consider this as a conversion. We don't even need to. The reason I moved the conversation to end after Zendesk instead of the actual lead generation flow is because we've already collected all of the details that we need. We've collected all of the details that we need over here, and we can see it in our Zendesk account. So there's no sense in collecting that same information all over again. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much how you use the live chat integration in the TARS chatbot to create a mixed system between chatbots and live chat. Hopefully that's useful for you guys. Now, before we close out this webinar, obviously we are going to be taking your guys' questions. So I'm actually going to see if I know Ish from our team wanted to join us for this section to help me answer questions. So I'm going to promote him to a panelist so that he can join us, and then I can see that we have a couple of questions going on over here. So we will be able to answer these questions. I think I have Ish with me right now. Ish, are you with us?
Yep, I can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. So actually, before we begin with the questions, for people who are people who need to leave, you can contact us through any of these. You can contact us through any of these options over here. The demo link at the bottom, I forgot to change it before the webinar, but it obviously links you to a WhatsApp chatbot booking system. But if you want to book a demo with us, you can contact us on any of these options over here. Email Ish. You can go to our webpage, book a demo with us. But if you guys want to stay on the call, I know that a lot of you guys do have questions for us. We can answer your questions right now. So the first question that we have is from Mario, and it is it absolutely necessary to have an enterprise level account for this integration to work? Ish, do you want to?
Yeah, sure. I can take care of that. So, yes, the short answer is yes. You need to have the enterprise version of the Zendesk chat for the integration to work, because we use something called Web SDK of Zendesk, which is only possible in their enterprise plans. So yes, it is required at this point of time for the integration to work. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Second question, is there another option for just those businesses that need to transfer an open query once in a while to a human agent to be tackled in an asynchronous way? That's a good question. I mean, the way I'd answer it, Ish, let me know what you think of this. Maybe you have a different perspective. But if you want to tackle something in an asynchronous way, I'm assuming when you say asynchronous in this context, you mean you want the person to be able to respond sometime later, sometime in the future when they're available. Maybe the human agent isn't available at that exact moment. What you could do in a situation like that is you could just hand the user off to maybe an agent over email, or you could maybe generate the lead and send it to your CRM for someone to follow up with later. That's what people do when they don't have a live chat system set up, when they don't have customer support agents. Yeah, Ish, what do you think? What's your perspective on
I
this?
think so. My response would be very similar to what you just said. In this case, if you want, or you can have three options. Like if the first two options are book a demo, or the second question is about FAQs. The third option could be reach out to our team, or you have some other query. If a user selects that particular option, you could have an open-ended question which says, what question do you have? I can send it to across to our team, and the person can basically just write the query in there, and we anyways trigger an email notification for every response that is coming in through the chatbot. So you would get a notification on in your inbox that someone has interacted with the bot. This is their query, and you can reach out to them again. So if you just want to handle like one-off queries, like you don't get so many live chats happening over a month, and you're getting say only 50 60 queries happening on a monthly basis, I think that would be a better option than going through the live chat route. Because in the live chat route, you definitely need to have someone manning that chat, right? It won't be totally asynchronous, because in email you can actually take time and respond to them later. In a live chat, you would have to do that right away.
Right. Oh, the next question we have is a very interesting one. Can the live chat be an option for only certain times during the day? Yes, it can. In fact, I think we have a couple of people who are already implementing a system where they use live chat during work hours, and they use chatbots during after work hours. And the way it would work is we have a conditional jump feature in the builder. I can actually maybe jump out of these slides and show you guys what that looks like. If I jump back into these slides over here, what you can do is, let me just add a gambit over here, open this up. The bot says something, the user says something, and then based on a certain set of variables, if you select this conditional jump feature, you can direct the conversation in different directions based on a certain set of conditions. So in this field, what you could actually do is you could check what time of day it is. So you can say, is it after 5 p.m.? If it is after 5 p.m., you could send the conversation in one direction where a chatbot answers all of the queries. And in all other cases, so it's not after 5 p.m., it's still in work hours and your live agents are available. In that situation, what you could do is, so over here, first direction, it's after 5 p.m. You send them in a direction where the chatbot handles all of the queries. So all of these options over here, we send them in that direction. Okay. And then the second option, it's anytime before 5 p.m. So your live agents are available. We automatically send them to the live chat section of the chat. So over here, you have a system where during work hours, you're automatically sending people a live chat. After work hours, you're automatically sending people to the chatbot. And obviously you'd have to do this in the first gambit over here. Right at the beginning, don't send any messages, delete all the messages over here. Don't accept any user input, scroll all the way to the bottom and select no input. There's no back and forth over here. All you're doing is you're checking to see whether it's after 5 p.m., whether it's before 5 p.m. And then based on that, directing the conversation off in different directions. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the last question we have for now. If you guys have any other questions, we can, we'd be more than happy to answer them right now. If not, we can also close out this webinar. I think we are I think we've covered pretty much everything that we'd like to in this webinar. I think you guys have a much better sense of how our live chat and chatbot integration works, why we use this approach. We do have one more question. You're welcome. The person Christopher, who asked us about whether you can have it available only at certain times of the day. Yep, it makes sense. So he has a student worker who's only available, between 8 and 11 a.m. So what you can do is you can set it up to say within 8 and 11 a.m., direct them in one direction of the conversation, and after anytime outside of it, direct them towards the live chat, towards the live agent, and anytime after 11 a.m., before 8 a.m., you can direct them to the chatbot in the flow. That's the beauty of having a visual workflow builder like we do over here. It's just a flow chart over here, and you can basically direct people in different directions based on a set of conditions. We have another question. Interestingly enough, it's from someone on our team asking, is there a way to come back to the chatbot after having a live chat? It's a great question. Ish, do you...
So can you actually switch to the live interaction that you're having with a bot? Not in the chatbot, but basically like the actual bot. Yeah. So if you click on talk to an agent.
Actually, over here. Here we go. We can say end.
Yeah, right. So live chat, you would be able to basically, if you scroll up, you would see that option is like you can see here, right?
Yeah.
You can just type and live chat, and you can switch back to the bot. So right now, the configuration that you've done in the chatbot workflow doesn't really do anything because it just takes you to the last gambit. But what you could do is, if the person is done with the live chat and they want to end the live chat and move back to the so for instance, I was having this conversation with a customer just yesterday, and what they wanted to do was, after someone is done with the live chat and the initial chatbot interaction, done with the live chat as well, they want to take the user through a workflow where they're asking some sort of a survey, some sort of feedback about that conversation, right? So it becomes a really good way. Once someone has completed the live chat, you can take them to a certain workflow in the chatbot, and this is totally possible using that, right? Now, if you switch to the chatbot workflow, you'd be able to see that since go back. So just scroll down a bit. You would see that after the Zendesk thing, you've connected it back to the end, right? But you can literally just have a very different workflow running after that Zendesk gambit, right? You could possibly ask, thanks for speaking with us, or how would you rate the conversation, right? And that's where you switch the context from a live chat back to the chatbot.
So over here, I added a star rating.
Right.
It saves. Now it'll give them the option of giving feedback in the in the conversation. We have a little bit of a clarification over here from Christopher, who asked about the time frame thing, the time frame question over here. He said he doesn't want to only direct the conversation in one direction for the time frame. So within 8 to 11 a.m., he doesn't want to direct all the conversations to the live agent. He wants the bot to still answer whatever it can, and that's obviously possible as well. So over here again, let's say that this is the time check over here. So this gambit, we check what the time is. If it is between time, I'm just doing this for show. Obviously, it would be a little more complex to set up the time check over here. If time is 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., we can send them in this direction over here, where they have all of the bot options and the agent options. So the bot will still answer their questions. And then what we can do is we can set up another branch over here. So in all other cases, so over here, if the time is 8 a.m. to 11 a.m., it'll send them in the direction where the live agent is an option over here. Talk to an agent is a button option over here. In all other cases, so in the default branch, so this is anything but the branches we've defined over here, we will send them in another direction. So over here, we're going to send them in another direction. And over here, we're going to remove the talk to an agent option. So basically, anytime before 8 a.m., anytime after 11 a.m., we're going to send them in a direction where they don't see that talk to a live agent option. They're not going to see that option. So now what happens is between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., people will see that option to talk to an agent. They won't by default be sent to the talk to an agent, to the live agent. They can still talk to the chatbot if they want to. But after 11 a.m., before 8 a.m., they get sent to a direction where they don't have that option at all. Okay, another question that we have over here. Can you automatically ticket through Zendesk? I believe the answer is yes, right, Ish?
Yeah, so I think what you're asking is if you can create a ticket in Zendesk. So I think that would be a bit of a, because that would be Zendesk and not really Zendesk chat. So Zendesk is their help desk product. So if you want to create a ticket in Zendesk after someone has had a conversation with the bot, yes, you can do that. But to do that, you would have to do it through Zapier integration right now. So for instance, if someone is having an interaction, they submit a query or whatever it is, and you want to create a ticket in Zendesk, you would have to do this through a Zapier integration. And Arnab is just showing you how to do that. Like you would see Zapier in here, you'd have to just connect it via Zapier to Zendesk. So that is how it would work. It is not a Zendesk chat integration, but a Zendesk ticket integration. So it would be a little bit of a different integration altogether.
Right. But if you do have I think if you have the Zendesk, the full Zendesk support suite, as opposed to just Zendesk chat, I think that you are able to take chats in just the Zendesk support suite as well, where the ticketing is integrated into the chat. So if someone starts having a chat with you, you can automatically ticket them. But that's if you have ticketing set up. So over here, for example, the chat I'm having is in Zendesk. It's actually in Zendesk support, not in Zendesk chat. I can see the same conversations in Zendesk chat as well. So over here in the visitors, you can see the conversations that I had over here. But I was having the conversation in Zendesk support. And because I was having the conversation in Zendesk support, I can actually automatically ticket them in the live chat over here. Submit as open. I can mark them as pending, open, solved, etc., etc. What could be the maximum wait time and how the bot engages the customer while they are in the queue? Great question. I think the way it works right now is the bot just sends the user a single message. It says connecting you to an agent, and then it tells them what place in the queue that they are. Now, the beauty of this in terms of wait time, as we explained in the slides, is that your wait time, if you were using live chat before, your wait time is going to reduce considerably because the chatbot is handling a lot of those repetitive, easy to answer L0 and L1 queries that your agents would have otherwise been handling. So those queries are out of the question. The number of customer support tickets that are coming through the door to your agents is now 80% less than it was before. So the wait time is automatically going to be reduced considerably. And in our experience, that usually like for example, in the case of the Montana DMV, like we were talking about, as we said, one of their bureaus reduced their wait time from 2 hours to I think 20 seconds or 15 seconds or something like that, which is basically instant. Yeah.
I think so. Just to add in there, what I think the question is about what could be the maximum wait time if it has to be, right. Like you suppose like you have just one person manning the chat, and if they're not available or if they just moved away from their desk or whatever it is, how much could be the maximum wait time, right? And this could literally be anything. Like you could have the wait time as 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, or whatever it is, as long as the end user hasn't closed that tab itself, right? Like the browser tab, they shouldn't have closed the browser tab where the chatbot is or the live chat is actually working. If they don't close it, it's live in there, right? Now, what we could possibly do in the future, I think that could be a good feature in the product is if someone has been waiting to say a couple of minutes or maybe 5 minutes, we could give them an option that, do you want to, like, we don't have anyone, at the desk right now, or we don't have anyone available right now manning the chat. Do you want to, switch back and share your query or, something of the sort could be done in the future. But yeah, that's the solution, in the future. But right now it would just be there as long as the user doesn't close the chat, it will just be there.
Right. And actually, I think Zendesk has a lot of this functionality in it already. So if you hand the conversation off to Zendesk, you can set up you can set up workflows in Zendesk itself. Yeah. So you can trigger responses. So if someone's been waiting for 5 minutes, you can automatically in Zendesk set it up so that they get an auto response saying it will be right with you to engage them. Awesome. I think that was our last question. some great engagement in this webinar. We had a feeling that this webinar would capture people's attention. Anyways, with that, I think we've answered pretty much all of the questions that we need to. We've gone a little over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys our webpage. If you guys want to book a demo with us, jump onto our webpage. It's hellotowers.com. In the bottom right of the screen, you will be able to interact with our chat-based customer service system, where, as you can see, there are options to interact with a chatbot. So if I click on any of these first three options, it just continues the conversation with the chatbot, or you can chat with someone from the Towers team. If you click on this, you'll be connected with one of us, and we will talk to you. So if you guys want to book a demo with us, if you guys want to want help integrating this feature into your existing chatbot. If you guys want to learn more about how this can be used for your business, go to our website, hellotowers.com, start a chat with us. Either our bot will handle it or one of our agents will handle it, depending on what your query is, what your response is to this question, and we can take it from there. Thank you guys for joining us. We had a lot of fun making this webinar for you guys, and we appreciate you guys attending. And of course, everyone asks this in our webinars. We will send a recording to you guys after the webinar is complete and after Zoom finishes processing the recording. Yeah, so expect that soon in your inboxes.